Few things ate through allowance money in the late 90s and early 2000s as fast as Pokemon cards. The Pokemon trading card game, or some of them called it the cardboard crack, was very popular among youth, myself included, and it turned out that many of us didn't even really take the time to learn the rules. We just simply wanted to collect them all, because of course it wasn't actually possible to collect the Pokemon that we saw on TV or in the Game Boy game, but we could collect those cards. And with the shiny versions and the ones with the higher HP, it seemed like were the ones everybody wanted to get, because not many people actually took the time to learn the rules. Now, I was one of those kids that did attempt to learn the rules, and while I don't remember if I actually was playing the game 100% correctly as I know the rules to be now, I gave it an attempt. Now, in 2000, Pokemon released the Game Boy Color game, the Pokemon trading card game. It's basically intended to almost be a tutorial to teach people how to properly play the trading card game that so many people were buying cards for, and yet it seemed like half of them didn't even know how to play. Now, of course, the game is much more than a tutorial or a selling point for the trading card game. It is in its own right a game, but it does a very good job of teaching how to play the trading card game. It starts off like many other Pokemon games. You meet a professor who gives you a stack of cards. You run through a bit of a tutorial teaching you how to play the game. Then you can basically venture out and play, I believe, like 8 different leaders, each with a different play style. One might be lightning, one might be fire. You name it, each different type is represented by a leader. You beat all the leaders, you get to face off in the championship for a shot at some special cards. Now, after you're beating each of these people in the gyms of sorts, I think they're called clubs. After you beat each of these people, many of them will give you a booster pack, which is really cool because while the trading card game does exist in a video game sense today with the Pokemon trading card game online, the thing with that is, you can earn packs through progression slowly, but there's also an opportunity to buy the packs. And of course, it is a free-to-play game, so you would expect that. What was nice about this and the pre-internet popularity of these types of games is you actually earned cards through playing the game. You got the booster packs through playing the game rather than having to buy them. In addition to this, there was also trading capabilities. So if you did want to trade some of your cards, your duplicates, whatever, you could with your friends. And considering that this only included like the first base set of Pokemon cards from the Kanto region and maybe some of the expansions, I'm not even sure. There were only a couple hundred, like literally like 200 different cards in this game, which, keep in mind the fact this is a Game Boy Color game. Odds are they're a little bit tight on storage space for what they can all pack onto the game. Now, a year after that, in 2001, there was actually a sequel released to this game in Japan. Now, mind you, the game originally released in 1998 in Japan and got a sequel in 2001, while the first game released in 2000 in the US and never got that sequel. Now, was it because the popularity of the Pokemon trading card game was on a downfall? Maybe. I mean, it was sky high in the late 90s and, the first part of the 2000s, like literally 2000 or 2001, and then it kind of dived off. I've heard that around the release of Fire Red and Leaf Green, that was kind of like the ultimate low point for the Pokemon trading card game, like where it had absolutely hit rock bottom, and I can tell you today it's not nearly as popular as it once was either. So odds are, having seen the decreasing popularity of the trading card game in the US, Nintendo pulled back on actually releasing a translated version of this game in America. So we never got to see the release of the second game officially. Now, is a fan translation out there, and I had heard for many years that a fan translation had not been completed. Well, it turned out that eventually a fan translation was completed, in addition to being sold as a physical copy on Etsy, which seems super illegal, but regardless, there is even physical GBC copies of the second game available. Now, from what I've read about it, having not actually played it, I've heard that it's a lot like the first game, though it does have more cards in it, as well as a few new features, including the ability to save midway through a battle, which they should have had in the first game, but maybe they just didn't know how to implement it. because it seemed to me when I played this game, I oftentimes played it at home. I really couldn't attempt to bring it in the car somewhere because I couldn't even finish a match fast enough for most car rides, just simply because these card battles went on and on and on. Because right when you thought you were going to have somebody beat, they had a potion, or they used Bill, this way they could draw 2 new cards that gave them a potion or something like that. You know, they always hung on just a little bit longer than you wanted them to. Now, if you do want to play this game today, even with the, you know, kind of awful UI that it has, I mean, it's pretty sloppy, and you have to go through a lot of screens in order to see the things you want to, just because, you know, you think about it was being played on a tiny little Game Boy Color screen. Well, it has been re-released on the 3DS eShop, so if you have a 3DS and you want to play this game, you can still do it. But it just makes me think about how different the world was before microtransactions. You know, before we had to be plagued, you know, by the games sure being free like the trading card game online is, but being plagued at every turn by microtransactions. The world was just so much of a different place, and honestly, I kind of miss that aspect of you buy the game, you own all the content, and you can unlock it from there. Let me know what you guys think of the Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy Color. Did you play it back in the day, or is it something that you've never heard of, or could you maybe just never get past how hard to stare at? You know, it's just a lot of text to have on the screen, and it kind of hurts your eyes, really, when you think about staring at that little Game Boy Color screen with all that text on it. But it's a fun game regardless, especially if you don't want to maintain a collection of, you know, actual physical Pokemon cards, like I don't really want to do at my age either. So let me know what you guys thought of the game, if you ever played it or whatnot. I'm Bailey, and I will see you in the next video.